All right. Intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another epic DozCast episode. I'm your host, MrDoz, joined yet again with Taylor over here. Or is she over here? I don't know.
Hello.
Anyway, it's been a long time since we've seen her, so be sure to say hi to her in the comments and be nice. Thank you. And today we'll be doing a Reddit-themed Halloween stories, aka spooky stories. So some of these might be a little too spooky for you. If that's the case, please feel free to leave the episode anytime you like. Now, with that said, let's get right into Spooktober. Alright. This first story comes from r/no sleep. I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. I have some stories to tell. Damn, this is a long one. I wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been a search and rescue officer for a few years now, and along the way I've seen some things that I think you guys would be interested in. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time they just wander off a path or slip down a small cliff, and they can't find their way back up. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing and don't wander far, but I've had two cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases I get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time both kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to the search area. We found the daughter pretty quick, and when we asked where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the bear man. She said he had gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while. The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but he was tall and covered in hair, like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched the area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, but we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she'd never come back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name before they called for help. Again, we searched everywhere and never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly gone because neither her mother or her grandpa saw her come down. Excuse me, I need a bottle of water. Reading Reddit stories really takes the wind out of me. A few times I've been called out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs, not hills, not even rock faces, straight sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling, and in those cases we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff, or a few miles from where the canine had led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's sort of strange. One particular sad case involved a recovery of a body. A 9-year-old girl fell down an embankment and got impaled on a dead tree at the base. It was a complete freak accident, but I'll never forget the sound her mother made when we told her what had happened. She saw the body bag being loaded into the ambulance, and she let out the most haunting, heartbroken wail I'd ever heard. It was like her whole life was crashing down around her, and a part of her had died with her daughter. I heard from another search officer that she killed herself a few weeks after it happened. She couldn't live with the loss of her daughter. Damn.
It was horrible.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that one, dude.
Yeah. But it happens so often, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times up here, there's so many people that go missing because there's so much area up here that's not inhabited. So people go off the wrong trail. It's like, hey, you're gone forever. And then they either never get found or found years later.
Yeah. I remember, this is a kind of a side note, but like, when me and brother Dawes were visiting Grand Canyon, there's literally
Hmm.
there's a sign that will literally say like, uh, you can hike the whole Grand Canyon, and there's a sign that says, "Warning: Some of the most experienced hikers have died on this hike." And my brother's like, "We could do that," and I was like, "Dude, who's we?"
You if you want, but I want to live another day. So thanks for that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, there's more. I was teamed up with another search officer, and because we'd received reports of bears in the area, uh, we were looking for a guy who hadn't come home from a climbing trip when he was supposed to, and we ended up having to do some serious climbing to get to where we figured he'd be. We found him trapped in a small crevice with a broken leg. It was not pleasant. He'd been there almost for 2 days, and his leg was very obviously infected. We were able to get him in a chopper, and I heard one of the EMTs that the guy was absolutely inconsolable. He kept talking about how he'd been doing fine, and when he'd gotten to the top, a man had been there. He said that the guy had no climbing equipment, and he was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy. When the guy turned around, he said he had no face. It was just blank. He freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he'd fallen. He said he could hear the guy all night climbing down the mountain and letting out these horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me. I'm glad I wasn't there to hear it. All right. One of the scariest things that I've ever had happen to me involved the search of a young woman who'd gotten separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and her pack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk with us back to base ops. Along the way, she kept looking behind us, asking why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer we got to base, the more agitated this woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us, almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. Okay, it was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within the sight of base ops, the woman turns to me, and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human could open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He says to you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." I have a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's almost mostly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after it, she said, right after she says it, I hear a weird coughing right in my ear, and I was just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when we left the area that night. Damn. I'm home alone tonight, so
Yeah, no, thank you. Like,
I could almost believe the, she's just clearly out of her mind until he mentioned the
Yeah.
scar thing. And then the coughing right in his ear. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so this forest is haunted. I'm going to need a location so I know to avoid this forest from now on.
I like the fact that he said insect-like. Like, what does that mean?
This is the last one I'll tell, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. Now I don't. Oh, this is the weirdest story you have. Great. Now I don't know if this is true in every search and rescue unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing that you run into. You can try asking about it with other search and rescue officers, but even that, if they don't know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it to our superiors, and at this point, we've gotten so used to it that it doesn't seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like you took the stairs in your house and cut them out and put them in the forest. I asked about the first time I saw, and the other officer told me not to worry about it. It was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to check them out, but I was told very empathetically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. I'm sorry. What? You just it was just top comment here. Just a suggestion. Quit.
Yeah, you think?
I'm sorry. This is a normal thing that happens?
That's not a huge red flag right there. Like, what do you know that I don't know, and why can't I go near that staircase and or climb slash touch it?
Let me just make sure my window's locked. You're laughing. My window's on the ground floor, so someone could just as easily just like knock on it and open it. It's Slenderman. All right.
Well,
well. Well. Thoughts?
I mean, I'd say it's scary if you see it in person, but when you're sitting here like listening to it, you're like, are you sure you're telling me the truth? Like,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
I mean,
I could believe those first couple stories that like they sound real, but then it just gets into the paranormal, and I'm like, are we really experiencing this, or are you just making this stuff up to, get more likes and whatnot on Reddit?
right. Bear man, though, I'm gonna remember that.
It was probably Bigfoot.
Probably national treasure.
National treasure.
Bigfoot's a national treasure. What do you mean?
Okay. At the bottom here, there's a link to a part 2, apparently.
Oh boy.
I'm going to click on that because the other story I was going to read was actually deleted. So,
Oh, of course.
too spooky, I guess.
I remember when we first moved up here, there was this lady that popped up on my Instagram. She lived down in Anchorage. And it was like 12 different days of Alaskan folktale or whatever, like native stories. Shit is scary. Like being out in the middle of the woods with your neighbors not really around, you're like, I might die out here. But you know
Yeah, exactly.
why we have 500 guns at this point.
Still
He
not
keeps
enough.
buying guns. So I have one gun. That's it. The rest are his.
Nice. It's also not spooky enough in here, so.
Okay.
There we go. Spooky lighting. Alright. Part 2. So I logged on tonight and was blown away by the staggering amount of interest this seems to have generated. First off, I'll address a few things that you guys have brought up. There's been an overwhelming amount of people mentioning the similarity between some of my stories and those of David Paldies. I don't know who that is. I assure you I'm not trying to rip him off in any way. I've got nothing but respect for the guy. Okay.
Red flag number one, maybe?
Yeah, I was like, you know who this guy is? He's actually what inspired me to write this. Okay, so now I gotta Google this guy real quick. Hold on. David, if I could spell correctly. Former American police officer who is a writer and known for his big books dedicated proving the reality of Bigfoot. Yo, I gotta read this. Oh, Missing 411. I think I've heard of that before. Anyway, where was I? He's actually what inspired me to write this because I can verify a lot of things he talks about. We do have a lot of these strange missing person cases, and most of the time they aren't solved. Either that or we find them in places they have no business being. I personally haven't been on many calls like that, but I'll share a few that I've seen and a story my friend told me that relates this. There's a lot of feedback about the stairs, so I'll touch on that briefly here. Thank you. I'll also include a story. Please. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Okay. What? Styles and conditions. Some are pretty just ruins, and others are brand new. I saw one that looked like they came from a lighthouse. They were metal and spiral, almost old-fashioned. The stairs don't go infinitely or farther than I can see, but some of the sets are taller than others. Like I said before, just imagine the stairs in your house as if someone cut and pasted them in the middle of nowhere. I don't have pictures. It never occurred to me to take them. What? If I see the stairs in the middle of the woods, I'm like, yo, what?
Yeah, pretty much.
It never really occurred to me to try again after the first time, and I don't really feel like risking my job over it. I'll try again in the future, but I can't really promise anything. A few people expressed confusion about the guy who ran into the man with no face. Just to clarify, when the climber ascended and reached the top of the peak, he saw another man in a parka and ski pants. This was the man with no face. Sorry about the confusing wording of that story. It wasn't really confusing, but okay. Alright, on to the news stories. Here we go. As far as missing persons go, I'd say about half of the calls I get are related to that. The others are rescue calls, people who fall down cliffs and hurt themselves, get injured by fire. You wouldn't believe how often this happened, mostly drunk kids. Get bitten or stung by animals or insects. We're a tight team and have veterans who are excellent at finding signs of lost people. That's what makes these cases where we never find any trace of them so frustrating. One particular was upsetting for all of us because we did find a trace of them, but it just led to more questions than answers. An older man had been hiking alone on a well-established trail, but his wife called to say that he hadn't come home when he should have. Apparently, he had a history of seizures, and she was worried that he hadn't taken his medication and suffered one out on the trail. Before you ask, I have no idea why he thought it was okay for him to go out alone, or why she didn't go with him. I don't ask about that kind of thing because past a certain point, it really doesn't matter. Someone is missing, and it's my job to find them. We went out in a standard search formation, and it wasn't long before one of our vets found signs that the guy had gone off the trail. We grouped up and followed him, spreading out in a fan to make sure we were covering as much ground as we possibly could. Suddenly, a call comes over the radio telling us to head back to the vet's location, and said we come right away, because this usually means the missing person is injured and we need a full team to help get him out safely. We meet back up, and the vet is just standing at the base of a tree with his hands on his sides of his head. I asked my buddy what's going on, and he points up to the branches of the tree. I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing, but there's a walking stick dangling from a branch at least 30 feet off the ground. The little scrap thing on the handle had been looped around the branch, and it's just hanging there. There's no way the guy could have tossed it up that far, and we don't see any other signs that he's still in the area. We call up into the tree, but it's obvious no one's in it. We're all sort of left scratching our heads. We keep searching for the guy, but we never find him. We bring out our canines, but they lose scent long before this tree. Eventually, the search is called off because there are other calls that we have to attend to. And past a certain point, there's not much we can do. The guy's wife called us every day for months, asking if we found her husband. And it was heartbreaking to hear more and more hopeless each time. I'm not sure why this call in particular was just so upsetting, but I think it was just sheer improbability of it. That and the questions that were raised. How the hell did the guy's cane end up there? Did someone kill him and toss it up there as some weird trophy? We did our best to find him, but it was almost like a taunt. We still talk about that one time to time. See, now I believe that. Missing persons just, it's sometimes like they just go into the back rooms, you know? Missing kids are the most heartbreaking. Doesn't matter what the circumstances. They go missing under. It's never easy, and we always dread the ones we find deceased. It's not common, but it does happen. David talks a lot about kids and search and rescue teams find in places they shouldn't be or couldn't be. I can honestly say I've heard about this kind of thing happening more than I've seen it. But I'll share one of the ones that I think about a lot that I witnessed personally. A mother and her 3 kids were out for a picnic in the area of the park that has a small lake. One is 6, one is 5, and the other is about 3. She's watching them all really closely. According to her, she never lets them out of her sight at any time. She never saw anyone else in the area either, which is important. She packs up their stuff and they start to head back to the parking area. Now this lake is about 2 miles into the woods, and it's on a very clearly established trail. It's almost impossible to get lost getting from the parking area to it, unless you're deliberately going off trail like an imbecile. Her kids are walking in front of her when she hears what sounds like someone coming up the path behind her. She turns around, and in the 4 or 5 seconds she's not looking, her 5-year-old son vanishes. She figures he stepped off the trail to pee or something, and asks the other 2 where he went. They both say that the big man with a scary face came out of the woods next to them, took the kid's hand, and led him into the trees. The 2 remaining kids don't seem upset. In fact, she says later that it seems like they've been drugged. They're sort of spacey and fuzzy, so of course she freaks out, starts looking frantically in the air for her kid. She's screaming his name, and she says at one point she thinks she heard him answer her. Now obviously she can't go blindly into the woods. She's got the other 2 kids, so she calls the police and they send us out immediately. We respond and start the search for him. Over the course of this search, which spans miles, we never find any single trace of the kid. Canines can't pick up any scent. We don't find any clothing or broken bushes or literally anything that would signify a child being out there. Of course, there's suspicion about the mother for a while, but it's pretty clear that she's completely destroyed by this thing. We looked for the kid for weeks with a lot of volunteer help, but eventually the search dies out and we move on. The volunteers keep searching though, and one day we got a call on the radio letting us know that a body had been found and needs to be recovered. They tell us the location and none of us can believe it. We figure it had to be a different kid, but we go out there and about 15 miles from the site where he vanished, and sure enough, we find the body of the kid we've been looking for. I've been trying to figure out how the kid got there, where he did, and ever since we found him, and I've never come up with an answer. A volunteer just happened to be in the area because he figured he might as well look in the places no one else would think to on the chance the body had been dumped. He comes to the base of the trail, rocky slope, and half up he sees something. He looks through his binoculars, and sure enough, it's the body of a little boy, stuffed in the little opening of a rock. He recognizes the color of the kid's shirt, so he knows right away that that's the missing boy. That's when he calls us in, and we're dispatched. It took us almost an hour to get his body down, and none of us could believe what we were seeing. Not only was the kid 15 miles away from where he started, there was no possible way he could have gotten up here on his own. This slope is treacherous, and it's hard for even us with our climbing gear. A 5-year-old boy had no way of getting up here. Of that I'm certain. Not only that, but the kid doesn't have a scratch on him. His shoes are gone, but his feet aren't damaged or dirty. So it wasn't as if an animal had dragged him up there. And from what we can tell, he hadn't been dead that long. He looked about there. He'd been out there for about a month at that point and looked like the kid had been dead for most a day or two. The whole thing was unbelievably strange, and it was one of the most disconcerting calls I've ever been on. We found out later that the coroner determined the kid had died from exposure. He'd been frozen to death, probably late night 2 days before we found him. There were no suspects and no answers. To date, it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Damn. Remind me to never be a search and rescue officer.
Yeah.
No, like
The fact that he had no shoes. I feel like a lot of these, there's no shoes every time. Like, what's with shoes?
Sometimes they just fall apart on you and you just gotta get rid of them. That or they're taken.
Yeah.
One of my first jobs as a trainee was a search op of a 4-year-old kid that had gotten separated from his mom. This was one of those cases where we knew we were going to find him because the dogs had a strong scent trail. And we saw clear signs that he was in the area. We ended up finding him in a berry patch about a half a mile from where he'd been last seen. Kid wasn't even aware that he wandered that far. One of the vets brought him back, which I was glad for because I'm really not good with kids. And I find it hard to talk to them and keep them company. As my trainer and I head back, she decides to take me on a detour to show me one of the hot spots we tend to find missing people. It's a natural dip in the land near a popular trail, and people will usually move downhill because it's easier. We hike out there. It's a few miles away, and we are about an hour or so. And as we're walking around the area, where was I? Right here. As we're walking around the area, and she's pointing out places she's found people in the past, I see something in the distance. Now, this area we're in is about 8 miles from the main parking area, though I just saw something move past my window. Okay. Let me just double check, make sure the window is locked.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, it's still locked. I think I'm okay. Now this area we're in is about 8 miles from the parking area, though there's back roads you can take to get closer in if you don't want to hike that far. But we're on state protected land, which means there can't be any kind of commercial or residence development out there. The most you'll see is a fire tower or a makeshift shelter that homeless people think they can get away with building. But I can see from here that whatever that thing is has straight edges, and if there's one thing you learn quickly, that nature rarely makes straight lines. I point it out, but she doesn't say anything. She just hangs back and lets me wander over to check it out. I get about 20 feet from it, and all the hair on my back of my neck stands up. It's a staircase in the middle of the fucking woods. Okay, here we are again with the staircase.
Well, yeah.
In the proper context, it would literally be the most benign thing ever. It's just a normal staircase with a beige carpet and about 10 steps tall. But instead of being in a house where it obviously should be, it's out here in the middle of the woods. The sides aren't carpeted, obviously, obviously, guys, obviously. And I see the wood it's made of. It's almost like a video game glitch where the house has failed to load completely and the stairs are the only thing visible. I stand there and it's like my brain is working overtime trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. My trainer comes and stands next to me. She just stands there casually looking at it as if it's the least interesting thing in the world. I ask her what the fuck this thing is doing here, and she chuckles. She fucking chuckles? Like, what is wrong with these fucking search and rescue people? Get used to it, rookie. You're gonna see a lot of them.
What?
I start to move closer, but she grabs my arm. Hard. I wouldn't do that, she says. Her voice is casual, but her grip is tight. I just stand there looking at her. You're going to see them all the time, but don't go near them. Don't touch them. Don't go up them. Just ignore them. I'm not really believing this part. Sorry.
But why? I want to know why.
I start to ask her about it, but something in the way she's looking at me tells me it's best if I don't. No, you gotta ask. You gotta ask. Well, we end up moving on, and the subject doesn't come up again for the rest of my training. She was right, though. I'd say about every fifth call I go on, I end up running across a set of stairs. Sometimes they're relatively close to the path, maybe within 2 or 3 miles. Sometimes they're 20 to 30 miles out, literally in the middle of nowhere. And I only find them during the broadest searches or training weekends. They're usually in good condition, but sometimes it looks like they've been out there for miles. Okay. All different kinds, all different sizes. The biggest I ever saw looked like they came out of a turn-of-the-century mansion and were at least 10 feet wide with the steps leading up at least 15 or 20 feet. I've tried talking about it with people, but they just give me the same response my trainer did. It's normal. No, it's not. Don't worry about it. Worry about it, please. They're not a big deal. They're a big deal, but don't go close to them or up them. Yeah, I believe that part. When trainees ask me about it, I give them the same response. Bruh. I don't really know what else to tell them. I'm really hoping someday I get a better answer. I want a better answer. It just hasn't happened yet. God damn. It's like if I'm this like rookie being trained and I see a staircase in the middle of the fucking woods and my trainer's just like, yeah, don't worry about it, but don't go up them, and whatever you do, don't get close, don't touch them, stay away. Uh, okay, so like, what's the deal with these things? Don't ask. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
here's my 2 week notice. Thanks, I'm gone.
Honestly, don't you think if some random person who was hiking somewhere saw a set of stairs out in the middle of the fucking woods wouldn't go climb them? Like, maybe there's a fuck ton of people just up in these fucking whatever.
Yeah, because like that, you have it. That'd be a good like photo opportunity.
Like,
But at the same time, though, it's like that person's gonna go missing if they walk up the stairs. They're gonna walk up the stairs, they're gonna turn around, and the world's just gonna be gone.
make some signs or something that say, "Do not come near me. Don't climb me. Don't touch me. Don't ask about me. Just
Yeah.
ignore me."
This is another one that was less spooky and more sad. I don't want to read more sad ones. I'm sorry. I'm skipping this one.
Yeah.
A lot less outdoor. A lot of my less outdoorsy friends want to know if I've ever seen the goat man while I've been out on calls. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, I've never had anything quite like that happen. I guess the closest I've was the whole black-eyed man thing, but I didn't see anything. However, there was one call where I had something kind of similar happen, but I'm not sure I'm willing to chalk it up to the goat man. You've heard of the goat man before, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's a creepy pasta spooky story of a man who was half goat, basically. Said to be
Gotcha.
some kind of demon.
Not surprising.
I'm pretty sure there's a popular tourist spot called Goatman's Bridge, where supposedly people have seen him the most. I don't
Okay.
I don't remember where it is. I've heard stories of it.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not going.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'd gotten a report that an older woman had fainted along one of the trails and needed assistance getting back down to the main area. We hike up to where she is at, and her husband is just beside himself. He runs well. I guess just more jogs to us and tells us that he was a little ways off the trail looking at something when his wife starts screaming behind him. He runs back to her and she's passed out on the trail. We get her on a backboard and we're getting her down to the welcome center. She comes to and starts screaming again. I calm her down and ask her what happened. I can't remember verbatim what she said, but essentially what happened was this. She'd been waiting for her husband when she started hearing this really strange sound. She said it sounded like some sort of cat, but it was off somehow, and she couldn't quite figure out why. She went a little ahead to try and hear it better, but it sounded like it was coming closer. She said it got close. She said the closer it got, the more uneasy she was, until she finally figured out what was wrong. I do remember this next part because it was so weird that I don't think I could forget it if I tried. It wasn't a cat. It was a man saying the word meow over and over. Just meow, meow, meow. But it wasn't a man. It couldn't have been because I've never heard a man make this voice buzz like that. I thought my hearing aid was going out, but it wasn't. I adjusted it and still sounded all buzzy. It was awful. He was coming closer and I couldn't see him. And the closer he got, the more scared I was. And the last thing I remember was a shape coming out of the trees. I guess that's when I fainted. Now, obviously, I'm a little perplexed as to why a guy would be out in the fucking woods chanting meow, meow at people. So once we get down the mountain, I tell my spirit I'm going to go search the area to see if I can find anything. He gives me the go-ahead, and I grab a radio and hike back to where she fainted. I don't see anyone, so I keep going about a mile more. When I head back, I go off the trail to see if I can figure out where she saw him coming from. It's almost sunset at this point, and I don't have any desire to be out at night alone. Valid. So I just sort of write it off as a mental note to check out again tomorrow. But as I'm headed back, I start to hear something in distance. I start to call out for anyone in the immediate area to identify themselves. The sound didn't come closer or get louder, but it sounded exactly like a man saying meow, meow, in this really odd monotone voice. As comical as it sounds, it was almost like the guy on South Park with the... I'm not going to even attempt to read that. Ned. The character's name is Ned. I got off the trail in the direction I think it's coming from, but I never seem to get closer. It's almost like it's coming from all directions. Eventually, it just sort of fades out. So I ended up going back to the Welcome Center. I didn't get any further reports like that, and even though I went back to that area, I never heard the exact sound again. I suppose it could have been some stupid kid out there fucking with people, but even I have to admit it was weird. So this turned out to be a massive wall of text, and for that I apologize. I wanted to get some stories my friend told me, and he does have some good ones. So I'll post those tomorrow evening. I also have a few more of my own I think you guys will like. I'm sorry to keep you guys all in suspense again. Hopefully the stories here make up for it and help you get through the next 24 hours until I can post again. I don't think this is going to help me get through the next 24 hours. This is going to make me paranoid and make me sleep with a gun to my pillow tonight. Edit. It seems like all of you would like to hear more. Tomorrow I'll write up as many stories as I can in a massive post and include my friends' stories. Yeah, blah blah. And there's a part 3. But I'm going to call it good there because that was a lot. Is there a part 4? Jesus, there's a part. How many parts? Hold on, I got to see how many parts there are. This is too much. Part 2 is good enough for me. Part 5? Oh, this one I get the not safe for work content warning.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't have gotten that before, apparently. Part 6. Part 6 is actually pretty short. Part 7. Oh my god. And the final part. Is this actually the final part? Yes, it is.
I don't know. It might come out with more stuff later.
Well, this was 9 years ago, so it's taking its sweet time.
And never know.
All right. There is one more story that I have on here that I will go in and read for you guys. This one's... It's pretty spooky, so hold on. Retail horror stories.
Oh boy. I can't wait for this.
Today was my last day on the job working in a tech department of a computer retailer. And I think I just met one of the craziest bitches on the planet. She comes in with a broken GPS and starts spouting about how she's had nothing but bad service from another branch, and if I don't do what she wants, she will never shop with us again. Terrible. It even says, oh no. Sorry, side note, that just reminded me of a time that this Karen was, she came in and she was all mad because she was getting, the usual, it's addressed correctly, but the person isn't at that address thing.
Right.
People always bitch about that. So she's like, she hands me this like stack of mail and she goes, if you keep doing this, I'm going to start throwing it away. And I just remember thinking to myself, hey, don't threaten me with a good time.
Literally. Like, be my guest, please. Like,
go right ahead. I do not care.
Jeez.
All right. Where was I? I say, okay, sorry to hear that, blah, blah, and tell her we need to send it off to get repaired. She then freaks the fuck out saying she needs it for her new job because she's going up north and doesn't know her way around and will get lost without a GPS. We express our sympathies and explain that unfortunately, it's procedure to send it off. We can't just swap it, and sometimes we take it up to 10 days. Shit gets real, and she starts yelling, abusing us, saying that she's going to a part of the country she doesn't know without GPS. It will be dangerous. She then goes on to say that as a woman, she is scared to go without a GPS. She will end up on the wrong side of town and get in trouble with thugs. Where are you going? Insinuating that without a GPS, she will get.
Wow.
She then elaborates and says that by us not giving her a GPS, we are sentencing her to death. When? 14 years ago. Okay. Things carried on for a while, going around in circles and about how we would rather have her dead than lose a few $100s. It ended with my manager printing her out some shitty Google Maps for her road trip and sending her off her GPS. Yep. That seems pretty much legit.
Few things. I mean, a gun is a thing.
Yep.
Pepper spray, taser, all these different things. If you're on the wrong side of the neighborhood, like.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like, just I have to be the bearer of bad news, but bad stuff can happen anywhere. Because, like, I remember I told James that you carried around a taser in your bag when you were working here, and he was like, "Did you really need one?" And it was like, "She probably would." And then one day when he was making deliveries, a guy came out and threatened to shoot him.
Yep.
And I was like, "See, if you had your taser, this wouldn't be a problem."
That one time I smacked you with my purse and my taser fucking turned on.
Yeah. And I just remember I gave you a weird look of like, what is that?
Yeah, because you probably thought it was something else. Like,
oh, I definitely did. I thought it was something else. And he pulled it out and I was like, oh, thank God.
no, because I just carried a taser and pepper spray on me because I didn't own a gun at that time. I've never owned a gun until we got up here, so.
Yeah, a couple months back, this one customer comes in and he's like so mad at me that he literally like threatens, he literally like at one point goes, "I'm gonna rip your fucking head off." And I remember like the next few weeks I have this here, I'll just show it to you because I got it right here.
P.O. box customer or
route customer.
Yeah, okay.
So I started bringing this to work. It's brass knuckles.
Yeah.
And at one point, boss sees it and he picks it up. He's like, "Really, Joe?" And I'm like, "I am not taking this shit." Someone wants to come at me, they can come at me.
Oh man, I'm surprised he hasn't decided that he's done. Just in general.
I mean, he's still got that. I don't know if you've ever seen like by his work desk. He's got like that little paper that like when every month goes by, he takes a piece of paper off, and it's a countdown of how many months he has left.
I totally forgot about that. Well, I haven't been there in a few years, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Horrible.
Yeah, retail is where the real horror happens, dude.
Absolutely. I've had horror stories when I worked at Marshall's. I mean.
And where do you work now?
I work at the local clinic, and I have to deal with patients myself for travel, and they're great.
I bet.
Oh yeah, love dealing with Medicaid. Also, that's also a fun company.
But is it better or worse than post office?
Um, it really depends on the day. I do miss just driving and being by myself out there and seeing the occasional person. Here, I have to answer the phone and do whatever. But I mean, I have an office by myself. I used to share it with my mom, but my mom decided to go work nights from home. I'm like, all right, that's cool, I guess. So kind of just depends on the day. Today was that day. I'm like, yep, not doing nothing. It's Friday. Let's go home.
Sounds pretty valid.
Yeah. But I'd rather have a 4-hour work day paid for the whole day.
Oh, dude, with Amazon now delivering their own crap, literally like the carrier will get back before I even leave for lunch sometimes. And I'm just like, wow,
That
must be nice, dude.
I mean, that was me a lot of the time. I mean, sometimes I would get there when you were at lunch, but I mean, a lot of times it was beforehand, but that was with everything too. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Well, there was a short while there where Amazon and UPS had cut ties, so we were getting like basically everything. I mean, like
Oh,
it
joy.
was literally like over 500 packages a day.
Yeah,
And
every year when like Christmas and Thanksgiving pops around on my Snapchat, I see the video of I took up all the packages against the wall around the corner. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. I remember, I don't know if I told you the story, but we after Prime Week, and we had that
mhm.
like everything from Prime and whatnot. We had 701 packages that day, and I was like, that one package is there to piss me off. I put up a sign that literally said like, "Please wait, I am dealing with 701 packages," and
Yeah,
people would just ring the bell, and like I had one lady who was just like, "Is my package here yet? It says it's here. I want to get it," and I'm like, "I am not digging through that pile. You can wait until I finish everything." How long is that gonna be? It's gonna be a while.
I remember route customer. I used to write up her packages because she had a gate, whatever. She came in one time and I think Scoot was working
Scoot.
on the front and I was trying to go through packages. She's like, just let me back there. I'll just go get it myself. He's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck?
I had one customer today who was like, I was in the restroom, so I couldn't even hear the bell going off, and
Mhm.
I was in there for maybe a minute, and I come out and he was like, I used to be able to hear the bell when I press this button. And I was like, I don't think that's like our equipment issue. I think that's just a hearing issue, dude.
Yeah, and now I have like the same stupid button in my fucking building like you guys do. I'm like, this does not make me happy. It makes me feel like I'm back
Yeah,
dealing with that stupid button.
yeah, it's great. Anyway, that's all the horror stories. If you guys have any horror stories, please drop them down in the comments. Hopefully, none of these were too brutal for you. And with that said, thank you for watching. Hope you'll have a good one, and I'll see you all next time.